Living in a daydream. Ooh, such a sweet thing. Life on the big screen. It's such a beautiful scene, yeah.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Delayed welcome.
Delayed welcome. I wasn't ready.
Sorry, you ready now?
I'm ready. I'm great.
Great. Well, guys, welcome back to the kitchen. Excited to have you here. Man, we had a crazy week last week.
Yeah, gone for 6 of the 7 days.
Yeah, busy. We left on Sunday, shot a Monday wedding, which was absolutely stunning.
It was a pretty wedding.
Came home Tuesday, left Wednesday, and then we filmed this cool finance event for 3 straight days in Orlando. Mm-hmm. Awesome.
Yeah, we had Wednesday. Well, no, what time? We got back on Tuesday from the Phoenix wedding, right? Yeah, Tuesday. Then we flew out. So kind of had a day off this past week. Kind of not. So it's good to be back, though. It's good to be back in office.
Yeah. Yeah, it was cool experiencing, I would say one of our favorite weddings in the same week as filming a corporate event.
Yeah.
And just thinking about how, we used to say, you have to niche down on one, which we still kind of do, from a branding perspective. But you guys, if you're on part of our newsletter, so we send out this email saying, diversify, right?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you're an event videographer, and weddings there's a subgenre of that category. So go out and hone in your skills shooting live events in general. You'll learn so much about a wedding filming a live event and being put in an environment where you're uncomfortable, where you have to adapt in real time and work on your feet. It's really fun. So it also helps prevent burnout. I feel like it's just that variety.
Yeah. You're not just going wedding to wedding to wedding. It's wedding, commercial, and the commercial client could be whatever you want it to be. Could be a product, could be a live event like us. But I feel like it helps me just get out of the wedding scene just for a sec. And we learn a lot of good things each and every single time. It's kind of fun to be learning again instead of just in this routine of, the wedding day. So yeah, I had a good time this past weekend.
Absolutely. Yeah, me too. But you guys, we are back on the kitchen, on the podcast. I want to thank you all for just your love, your support, just your faithful listening. Thank you for letting Nate and I just have fun with this little venture. We're going to be back reading stories written by you. And if you want to submit your own story, as always, link is below. But we have some funny stories up ahead, and actually a ton of stories. It's been cool seeing more and more submissions come in week after week. So we're going to see how many we get through in an hour, and we'll go from there.
Start the clock.
Yeah, all right. I'll start with the first one.
Yeah.
So this is from a videographer titled Vendor Nightmares. So it was my very first wedding. I thought I had everything I needed. Batteries were charged, 4 cameras, a second shooter, lights, the whole kit. I started setting up the ceremony. I got my camera set, and I go to set my recorder at the DJ booth. This DJ has the full cowboy outfit, boots with a big hat. Wonder what state this is in.
Sounds like a great guy.
I start talking with him, and he has no idea what to plug in my recorder, so I ask if I can do it. We'll get back to that later. He lets me get it all set up, and I start recording. The ceremony goes great, and once everything is done, we go inside to eat and do speeches. Come to find out, the DJ had unplugged my recorder right after I started filming. I was freaking out. I asked him about it, and he said it was in the way. It was my first wedding, and I didn't have any lav mics. Luckily, the couple were close friends and didn't mind. I gave them a beautiful video, just with no sound. All in all, horrible experience, but we made it work.
Oh,
unforgivable on the DJ's part to touch your stuff. Unforgivable.
Yeah, strike 1, 2, 3 right there.
And you definitely probably learned from this experience to always have a backup and not to rely on one source of audio for when that happens. Mm-hmm. The things that stood out to me, and it sounds like, so this was your very first wedding, okay? So I'm not going to be too hard on you because you don't know what you don't know, and it's your first one. And so you probably learned a lot from this, but that's something I learned pretty quickly was the DJ's job isn't to make sure your audio is recording, right? That's your job. Your job is to cover all your bases and to work with all the vendors to make sure you can do your job well. And so I would never walk up to a DJ and say, hey, plug this in for me, right? Which it sounds like he might have done. Instead, saying, hey, I'm a videographer. I have this audio recorder. I need to capture the speeches. This audio is crucial to capturing the speeches. It's the only source of audio I have, right? Making it known to him. And so I'm going to plug it into your system. It'll be out of the way. It won't interfere with your setup. Can we plug it in and do some mic tests? That way, once it's plugged in and he can test the mic, he can see that, okay, I'm testing the mic, my levels are coming in, and it's not in my way. If it's in his way, you should move it. You should have longer cords, whatever it is. Like, your audio shouldn't be interfering with his job, because that will happen. And sometimes Nate and I have plugged in our audio and we think it's going, and then we'll go back to check on it, and there's no audio coming in because the DJ has muted that feed. And so we have to say, hey, even though the audio is coming through in the ceremony, it's not reaching my recorder, so he has to turn that on. So crucial to do audio tests before you actually start recording audio, not just for audio levels, but to make sure that you and the DJ are on the same page.
Yeah, totally. And I think this shooter did something very good. They were obviously very prepared with all their gear, right? They had their batteries, their camera, second shooter, lights. They had everything. What we always teach, though, is to show up a good chunk of time early, an hour, maybe even more. And we do that because we like to show up and start filming the venue, but it also gives us time to absolutely be there when the DJ first shows up. Sometimes they show up super early. Sometimes the ceremony is happening just an hour after you show up. And it's just, you got to be there for when they get there to do that sound check, And in this case, it does sound like just the DJ had no idea what he was doing. Full transparency, every DJ I think we've worked with, at least that I can think of, when we walk up to them and say, hey, do you have some output that you can send to us, whether it's XLR, quarter inch, RCA, do you have that available on your board? They're almost every single time, actually, they've said, yeah, they know what we're talking about. And if they don't have an XLR, they're at least competent enough to know, hey, yeah, I don't have XLR, but I have quarter inch. Can you do that? And then we have our little baggie that has all of our cables in it. And we've never really had a problem with that. But the biggest lesson learned here, it looks like, is the importance of backups, good old backups. And honestly, kudos for doing this, at least on your first wedding. I wasn't running audio in my weddings for a very long time. First wedding is definitely a great time to start doing it. And yeah, you learn the importance of backups on your first wedding. I hope that by your second wedding, you had the Tascam, the Lobs, you had the, maybe the backup TX660, because yeah, these things happen. There have been times where we kind of get bad audio through the feed for whatever reason, but the lav mics come in clutch. And I can't remember the last time where we've been just absolutely in the hole with all four of our audio sources. One always works out. So that's the biggest lesson I'd say this videographer learned right here.
One always works out, one always fails. So you have a 100% rate of one failing always. I feel like something always goes wrong with one source. So
always does.
And that's what, guys, we made that video about audio. We'll link our audio kit below, but it's worth investing a few $100 into making sure that things like this never happen again, right? Yeah. Because regardless if they're your friends or not, you want the audio for your portfolio and to tell a better story. So
right.
Anyway, glad you learned that on your first one. Because some people don't learn that till later.
Yeah, great job making it work too. Okay, next one. This one is from a photographer. This is Awkward Moments, short and sweet. It says, bro, I went to a wedding and the family of the bride didn't want her to marry him. All the family except the go to the wedding. Okay, I'm going to fill in some words here and guess what. Okay, they didn't want her to marry him.
Let's take a guess of what this is.
All the family was invited to go to the wedding and none of them showed up, even her mom with the peaky eye emoji.
So
oof. Yeah. Ooh. That's a red. If you're the bride, I would, I'd be raising my eyebrows and saying, well, why doesn't anyone like this dude that I'm marrying?
Yeah. What if you're the dude and none of your wife's family shows up to the wedding? How do you feel?
Not off to a hot start with the family. You marry into the family.
And when they know they just don't like you and they just don't show up to your own wedding. That'd be crazy.
Yeah. Kind of setting yourself up for a lifetime of
of
awkward family encounters. I can't imagine that's going well. The family of the
I
bride.
can't imagine it's lasted.
The family of the bride didn't want her to marry him. They didn't even show up to the wedding. Not even the mom.
I mean, there are some, circumstances where the couple's families are just toxic families, but they love each other and they're good people, and that's the point where they have to distance themselves from the family. So I'm sure it could be one of those cases, but I also think like it's on the family to
Show up.
swallow some pride for a day
Yeah.
and show up for your kids. I don't care who it is. Like unconditional love
Yep.
should be what you have towards your kids.
If your family, if your
no
kid is
matter what.
happy, if your kid is happy, you got to show
Yeah.
up for them.
Even if maybe who they're marrying doesn't align with what you thought your kid would marry, doesn't matter. Your kid's your kid. Unconditional love. I think it's more important for that kid to always know their family's in their corner, regardless of where they are at in life, than to make a statement. I'm not even going to show up to your wedding.
Yeah. Yeah. I think if I'm a vendor, though, like if I'm this photographer, I mean, it sucks, obviously. There's not a whole lot out of your workflow you got to change. I mean, there's not going to be like the mother-son dance. Wait, no,
Yeah.
there will be. There won't be the father-daughter dance. Family pictures will look a little different. But all in all, I'm not feeling like too awkward about it. It's not my I'm sure the bride maybe feels awkward. Maybe the groom does, but I'm just adapting and saying, okay, well, these are the cards I was dealt. Let's
very
do this.
one-sided edit.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only thing, sad. Very sad, actually. It's a very
Super
sad
sad.
story.
Yeah. Should add a category, sad moments.
Yeah, depressing weddings.
Depressing wedding moments.
I'd be destroyed if my family didn't show
Yeah.
up.
If I was the bride, I'd have some issues with my
Yeah,
family.
I would.
That's low. That's a low blow.
I'd almost rather them to show up and start drama than to just never show up.
Yeah, at least you got
Personally.
stories. You have a story after that
Something.
one.
All right. From a videographer. This one's titled Photographer Wars. I love a good anti-photographer story. Mainly because I'm one of the most pro-photographer people out there. All right. I'm filming the wedding of a work friend. The ceremony was indoors. I go to the photographer before the ceremony to see where she's hoping to stand when the bride comes down the aisle. I have my routine, but I hate assuming anything, and it usually puts us both on the same page and instills the I want to work with you, you work with me mentality going into the event. The photographer said they'd be in the front the whole time to get the bride walking. She also has a flash and asked if that's going to be a problem for my video. I politely tell her that it will be, but it'll be okay. But if possible, I would like to have the couple seconds without using the flash. I was just going to do a highlight video, so I wasn't overly concerned. Cut to the bride walking down the aisle. Flashes everywhere, like we're on the red carpet. I've worked with a lot of photographers and understand they need to get their shot, but we may have been on the red carpet at the Emmys with the number of flashes going off. At that point, I was a little annoyed because I thought there was some level of understanding, and she seemed like everything would be cool. And she worked with me for this one moment, but I was wrong. I talked after about the ceremony and explained my frustration a little bit. Her response made it even worse.
Wow.
She said, "Why didn't you tell me? I could have worked around that." But had she known flash was going to be an issue, she could have switched lenses and gone without the flash. This confused me because we did talk about it and I did explain my situation. But then the last thing she said was that she didn't know why it was that big of a deal because all her other videographers she works with would just Photoshop it out. What videographers are using Photoshop? At that point, she may have just said my time is more important than yours. Fast forward to the editing, I count the flashes down the aisle and there's maybe 30. There were 35 flashes during that time. It was insane. To this date, that is the only photographer I've ever had an issue with at a wedding. Very sad. I think the moments where a photographer uses a flash during the ceremony has been far and few in between. Maybe when we're doing an indoor ceremony.
Yeah.
But also, are you shooting raw? Can't you just...
Yeah.
Just-
Photographers have a
know,
lot of flexibility that we don't.
I know. Part of me just wants to say, like, you're a photographer, fix it in post. It's easier for you than for me to fix it in post. Part of me is like, well, you shouldn't rely on another vendor to allow you to do your job. You should just, that is what it is. It's also one of those things, and maybe I'm just like ignorant. I think Matt Johnson made a video one time about fixing a photographer's flash. It's a tedious process. And I think it only works if it's like a few per second, like in slow motion. But like for like one of these things where Brett's going on the aisle and there's 35 flashes going off, I think the fix to that would make it look very jittery and very skippy.
Yeah.
So I don't know if there is a fix, but if there is a fix and you guys know it, let me know in the comments. But yeah, I just say it's inconsistent on the photographer's part and just a bad hand to be dealt for the videographer.
Yeah, I will say, I'm not siding with the photographer here at all, but if I had to guess, this videographer is one of those people who's just very easy to work with. They're kind of a yes man sort of person, and not that that's a bad thing. And I'm just kind of going back to that sentence when they said, when they were having that conversation, and they said, I politely told her it would be okay if it was possible. It would be okay, but if possible, I would like a couple of seconds without using a flash. So I imagine in real time, this conversation was like, yeah, like you're totally good to use flash, but like if possible, can you just give me a couple seconds? And the photographer was like, yeah, absolutely. And then there's that quote by Mike Tyson where it says, everyone has a plan until you get punched in the mouth. The bride walking down the aisle is the getting punched in the mouth. Like it's dog eat dog. Everyone needs their shots. And if you told the photographer, like, yeah, you're cool to have your flash, but if possible, I need a couple of seconds. Like that goes out the window. If they know they can use the flash, they're just going to be using the flash. It doesn't matter. Your priorities go out the window for them. And so this is one of those things where whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, agreeable or disagreeable, I think you need to kind of put your foot down and say, I would prefer if you don't use flash because I can't edit that out. I don't have Photoshop. I'll do everything I can. I have continuous lights. If you need extra lighting, I can set that up for you. But no flash would be best for me. And really, because you can't really give much leeway. If it's absolutely impossible, then you just got to deal with it. But I think communication could have been a little bit better between these two.
Agreed. And also, if you want to like a solution on how to adapt, regardless of what the photographer's doing, there is the option of like shooting 60 frames or 120 frames.
Yeah.
That way you can slow down the moments in between the flash and kind of lengthen that moment. Obviously, it'll be in slow motion, won't feel as organic as 24 frames, but still, if you want, like if it's that important to you, can always shoot in a higher frame rate to slow down the in-between moments of the flashes. That way you don't feature them as much. That's another solution. But I think at the end of the day, it comes back to like just over-communicate and don't be afraid to say what you need. And if it is like, hey, like honestly, the camera's gonna ruin my video. Do you have any other lenses or continuous light you can throw on instead? And just see what they say. And if they say no, don't fight it, right? Their job is their job, your job is your job. Yep. And at that point, if you've already asked them and they've already said no, then it's time to adapt and figure out what your solution is going to be, regardless of who's going to work with you on that.
Yep, I agree.
Still sucks.
Sorry to hear that. We're pro video on this one. Also, I bet the photographer was just like an old person, just kind of stuck in their ways because they're just like, yeah, they just photoshopped it out. It's like, that doesn't work like that these days. It never has. It never has, actually. Okay, moving on to Wedding Ix. This is a photographer. And, well, just kind of skimming ahead, this looks like it could be... this could be a sexual harassment category, which we don't have.
I see the word boobs. I saw the word boobs. I'm like, I'm so glad Nate's reading this one.
I'm seeing boobs and zip ties. So let's see how this works.
All right, Nathan, take it away.
All right, here we go. From a photographer, I was shooting a wedding, and by the time we got to the reception, the groom was drunk. He came up behind me and pretended to hug me, but as he did, he took both arms, wrapped them around me from behind, putting his hands on each of my boobs, and he squeezed them. Oh my gosh. He wouldn't let go. It looked to everyone like he was hugging me, but he was 100% not. And then in parentheses, I had to put like 3 different things in my contract thanks to him. Anyway, later he smacked my butt in the middle of the dance floor in front of everyone. That's concerning, like if the bride is there. Like. Then, as I was leaving, he asked if I needed a walk out to my car, and I said no. And then he said out loud to one of his groomsmen, quote, "It's unfortunate I didn't bring my zip ties today." What does that mean?
No idea what that means.
It doesn't sound good, though. Ew, yeah.
I'm trying very hard to not laugh because this is a
very serious thing.
Sexual harassment.
This is
very serious. But I feel like you say it pretty nonchalantly. At least you typed it it felt pretty nonchalantly.
Yeah, no.
sounds like you're okay, which I'm so glad.
It's unfortunate.
But man, what a horrible
What a
experience.
terrible person. What an awful groom. I
I wonder what
guarantee.
you put in your contract. Basically, just if I get touched, I leave, which
Yeah.
you should. You should have just left right away.
Yeah. I mean, we have that in our contract, right? Like sexual harassment. If we're ever harassed, we can definitely leave, and we get full payment.
Yeah.
We're not really bound to anything. Like that's just.
And it happened 3 times. I'm so sick of alcohol
Same.
for some reason being this
But
like
he was drunk,
he was just drunk.
dude.
Like,
I
oh, sorry.
I hate that, man. That's one of my. Yeah.
When he harassed you.
I hate that people just get off the hook because they were drunk. So he willingly got drunk, and then did things that could.
And
Yeah.
and everyone saw it too. Like there's
say
never a
something.
time where you're alone with the groom at the reception. So everyone saw it happen and no one cared or say anything. And it was probably too awkward of a public moment for you to like make a huge scene. I know like, I mean, when it's happened to Nate and I, it hasn't been this extreme by any case. But I think still like when it happens in the moment, you just kind of freeze. You're just kind of like, what?
You don't. Yeah. You
What
don't
just
see
happened?
it coming. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And your first instinct is don't make a scene,
Right.
right? Because it's so awkward.
Yeah.
And it's so weird. So I get that completely. It's just, what a loser.
Dude, I guarantee. Number one, I guarantee they're not still married. I bet this dude turned out to be just the worst person ever. I'm betting that they got divorced soon after.
Just castrate the guy,
Yeah.
dude.
Cast.
I don't just.
I hate that, man. I hate the alcohol thing. I don't even want to think about the zip ties thing. That's just gross. I don't like. Is he trying to say
Yeah,
like
for
kidnapper?
those
or, like-
listening,
sorry.
Yeah. No, for those listening, like anyone, you should all have in your contracts a clause about sexual harassment or even like misconduct.
Yeah.
Because there have been times at weddings where it hasn't been explicitly sexual harassment, but things have happened, and the photographer had every right to leave, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Whether you're being treated poorly, inappropriately, being talked to inappropriately, whatever it is, like everyone should have in their contract you have the right to leave. That way you can hold them accountable. And I just like, where's the bride? Also,
Yeah.
like, it's your wedding. Where's your man is out here harassing people
3 times.
and I would bet that the photographer wasn't the only person. You know what I mean? Like, what a loser! What a lowlife!
Also, like if you're a guest, step up. Like if you see this happen, what are
Yeah.
you doing? Seriously, like
Yeah, where's the best man?
seriously, if I'm at my boy's wedding and I see him doing this to the photographer, I'm strangling the
I
dude.
slap him.
Yeah. Yeah, he's dead.
Push him away.
If he gets away with it once, he'll never get away with it a second time. Like not a chance. Not an
Yeah.
if you're a guest, you got to step it up. And the awkward part for the photographer, like if this did happen to us, something as extreme as this, the awkward part is hopefully not hopefully, but if it was a wedding guest, it's easier for us to go up to the bride and the groom and say, hey, we're being harassed by that guest over there. But since this is coming from the groom, it would be kind of hard. It puts the photographer in a hard spot to go up to the bride and then be like, hey, I'm being harassed, not by any old wedding guest, but by your groom. Like I can see why it would be a little difficult to because you could potentially just like ruin their marriage. I don't know.
Yeah, but still,
You got to say something.
if it ruins their marriage, then their marriage probably wasn't great to begin with.
Right. This dude isn't bred for marriage.
I would have walked up to that bride and said, "Hey, just letting you know, our team is heading out. The groom came up and sexually groped me.
3 times.
So as per our contract, 3 times as per our contract, I'm leaving, 4 hours early, but I will send you the edit in 6 months." Like,
Yeah, honestly,
see ya.
she could have definitely left after just the first offense where he comes up behind
Absolutely.
and squeezes her chest like that. Yeah. You're gone after that one. Not a second
so
chance.
sad.
That's terrible. Sorry to hear that.
So sorry. That's so
Gosh.
sad. All right, moving on to a videographer story. I was hired to film a wedding during the month of June here in the Pacific Northwest. Where is the Pacific Northwest?
The
What is
PNW,
that?
baby. Oregon, Washington.
Oh, duh.
Yeah.
Duh. Why am I thinking? Okay, duh. I know PNW.
Come on,
I've
Jake.
just
You know,
never said
Pacific
I've never
Northwest
said
to
Pacific
PNW.
Northwest. I've never said Pacific
You just know it
Northwest
as
in
the
my life.
PNW.
Yeah, just PNW.
Yeah. That's all right.
All right, so they're out in the PNW. All right. We were expecting sunshine. Silly. In the PNW.
Bold of you to assume that.
Yeah, crazy. Someone's never seen Twilight. All right. We were expecting sunshine since it was summer, but it ended up raining that day and it was planned as an outdoor wedding. The venue wasn't very prepared and last minute built a small open shed with wooden pillars and a plastic roof. Part of the roof, unfortunately, was blue plastic, and they decided to place it right above where the groom, bride, and officiant were going to stand. It was already cloudy, and inside the shed it was even darker. The nightmare, really, was that my white balance was ugly since part of the ceremony started outside in the rain, which thankfully calmed down during the wedding, and walked into the shed. The other nightmare was having to expose once inside the shed. The outside was a bit overexposed. Overall, the video turned out okay, but it's not something I wish for anyone to go through. And they also link the video, which we're not going to play, but...
Which I might pull it up.
Watch it after this. I'm also assuming that because of the blue plastic, that there was a blue cast coming down onto the couple. Bummer.
Let's see.
You know what I would do if I was the couple? Did you see that wedding that was just posted where that couple got married in the rain? Like it started pouring rain and they all just went with it. And they handed out umbrellas to all the guests and they were just drenched.
I did see that.
Just embrace it.
Yeah. Full send.
Just embrace it. Make it a memory. Don't make it this ugly blue plastic tarp thing. I don't even know.
Yeah, I'm watching the video right now. That is some blue plastic. That's like a blue tarp from Home Depot.
I don't know how I would adapt to that. Honestly, I think my only thing I would do is I would put my cameras as close as possible and just focus on like the tights of the faces of the couple and then do whatever I can in post to fix it. But just try to hide. I think whenever I see like a venue, even a venue room that I think is ugly or a setup I think is ugly, I put my wide lenses away and just get very tight to compress and to hide things and to remove things from my frame. But either way, it's just...
Yeah.
It sucks.
Yeah, I mean, I'm watching the video right now, and the videographer did a really good job. Like, there definitely is a blue... Well, first off, what venue in the PNW isn't prepared for rain?
Yeah, that's
First
also
question.
interesting.
Yeah. But yeah, the videographer did a good job of exposing. Like, there is the blue cast, but... And the background is a little blown out, but in this case, there's not much you can do. They exposed for the bride and groom's face, which, good on them. But yeah, it's not up to you. Again, this is one of those document, don't produce things where it went wrong. The bride and groom know that it went wrong and it was unforeseen, and you did the best that you could, and you killed it. You crushed it. It looks good. Yeah. So good on you for adapting.
Are you on their YouTube channel?
I have the video pulled up right here. Yeah.
Is it a videographer we know?
I almost said. I don't know. Again, I know Instagram handles better than full names, but I don't recognize the name.
Man, well, good for you for adapting.
Yeah.
Unfortunate situation.
Yeah. Yeah, good job. Beautiful colors, though, like the rest of the time where it's not under the blue tarp. Okay. Let's see. Let me get back to our notes here. Okay. Are we moving on? We're good?
Yeah.
Okay. Next one is from a videographer. This is awkward moments. Big time awkward moment. I forgot to take... Oh, no. We have another taking the mic off the bride and groom.
These are so awkward.
These are the worst.
So painful.
Big time awkward moment. Forgot to take the mic off the bride after the ceremony. Later that night, during the garter toss, I was filming and the groom, who was struggling, suddenly gave up in the middle of it, and then he looks dead at me. Immediately, I knew what it was. Obviously, he couldn't get the garter off because it was above the mic receiver and it was strapped onto the bride's leg. So I stopped filming and run over quick to help take it off. And there I am touching the newlywed's leg in front of like 100 people trying to get it off. Wasn't coming off at first, and it took a fat minute. Awkward as it gets, and a guy almost cut the mic cord off with scissors. Man, turned into the garter toss for this videographer. He's just like, all right, this is my time.
Oh,
goes up there with his hands.
Worst case scenario of why you should never mic a bride. Like, worst case scenario is this moment.
I mean, most times it's safe.
I would have ran over. Oh, I got it.
Yeah.
And then took it off with my teeth.
Yeah. The videographer goes in with his teeth.
Oh, I got it.
Yeah, this is absolute worst case. Most times you're pretty safe. I mean, just remember to take it off, please. That's the.
Yeah.
Do they? This is just, I guess, ignorance and just never caring enough to really think about it too much. But does the bride put the garter on at the very beginning of the day? Or I thought that was like, you know,
Some do. Some do.
Because I feel like I've seen most put it on right before the garter toss.
Yeah, I think most do. I think it's more traditional. Put it on
At the very beginning.
getting ready.
Well, I guess we now know that you should always, ask the bride if she's wearing the garter right then, because, put it below it if that's the case. But man,
Yeah.
that's terrible.
But also, like, before the garters would happen, videographer should know, okay, when I do the garter toss,
right.
there's a second garter that is mine that I should remove.
I just think it's
Yeah, I would.
he just had to run in there and do the garter toss himself.
I feel like that'd be like an SNL skit. Just imagine like a wedding, and the videographer's like, "Oh, I got it." Just runs over it, and with his teeth tears it off, and everyone just watches. Just
that's good garter she's got on, man.
all right, I'm rolling.
All right, we're rolling.
Your turn.
Here we go. Yep,
Yeah.
that was the test run. Oh, that's terrible.
Oh my gosh.
Sorry, but also that's your own fault.
One of the many reasons I stopped miking the brides, just horror stories like this.
Yeah.
All right, Momzilla story coming up.
Yes.
I was in the middle of recording the speeches, and silly me, I saw that memory card 1 is about to fill up, and I wasn't sure that it will go to card 2, so I went on a setting, and instead of clicking to go and record on card 2, I formatted the whole card 1.
How is this a Momzilla?
and over it on it. And then I'm shitting myself of like, what the F have I done? And then I took the memory out, and I had no hope to get them back. So, thank God I came across Disc Drill, if I'm not wrong, and managed to get some bit out, but not fully recovered. I'm proud of myself. I had a second camera that was recording everything at the same time, and I used those cameras mostly, and guessed that couple loved the film and gave me a 5-star review. Phew. Why is this a Momzilla story?
Yeah, that's not a Momzilla story. Oh, well, he got the 5-star review, so happy ending. But man,
Yeah, the fact that it was a full card means you lost a ton of stuff. 'Cause it takes a lot for me to fill up a card.
that just went from bad to terrible in like 1 second. They just click a button, like, oh crap, and then they record over it. Oh no. Oh my
There
goodness.
must be a setting where it's like card full, continue on to card 2, and instead it like just over. I don't know how that works. Or maybe it made card 2 then over onto card 1, and it had to format it first. I don't even know.
So
Yeah, I would be so red faced in that moment
oh dude.
because I wouldn't know if Disc Drill would work. I would be so in my head about it the whole night.
Well, I'm also really impressed because it said they recorded over it. If I'm reading this right, it was kind of an overwrite.
Yeah.
It sounded like they were in the span of 1 second. They clicked a button that formatted the card, and then they must have clicked it again to start recording on top of it. Like, talk about the ultimate fumble. That is the yips right there.
Oh, it makes me sick thinking about it. I'm so glad they gave you a 5-star review because I would have given you a 1-star review.
I also would have been just so flustered I couldn't even have finished that ceremony. I would have been dying on the inside.
That's horrible.
Oh.
Learned your lesson.
Yeah, learned your lesson. Make sure your cards have enough space.
I don't think I've ever formatted a card of a wedding.
Of an audio card? Or just any card?
Ever in my career.
Yeah.
I formatted like when I was shooting for Parker.
Yeah.
I did that like once.
The wedding's
But like
so
wedding
scary.
wise, I've never formatted somebody's.
Yeah.
And I've formatted cards mid wedding day, but I've never.
Yeah.
Knock on wood.
Same. Yeah, don't jinx us there. Okay.
Oh.
We're moving on to photographer, parentheses, my wife. Okay. Hopefully she knows we're submitting this because you checked the box giving us permission to share it. But this is awkward moments. My wife
under the bus here.
Yeah. My wife is the wedding photographer, shooting a first look with a couple, driving to the location, which is the Timpanogos Temple. Okay, this is a Utah wedding. Right up our alley. The groom is riding in my wife's car because Utah LDS weddings generally do these types of photo shoots / videos for their quote unquote first look. So the bride's in her own car, following my wife's car, which the groom is riding in so he doesn't see the bride's dress before the shoot. They're pulling up to the temple, and that's a semi-fast road right before you pull in. My wife slows down to turn in, and for whatever reason, the bride didn't see it and didn't slow down, and bam, rear-ended my wife, totaled our car, which was only 6 months old. Obviously, everyone got out and had to see it. If everyone had to get out and see if it was okay. So the bride and the groom ended up seeing each other. Long story short, my wife ended up shooting their first look 2 days later, where they had to pretend like it was their actual first look, and we had to get a new car. Man.
This is so awkward. I just feel how awkward that is.
Man, just the bride and the groom having to get out of the car and see each other because they have to look at the damage of the car.
Through the smoke and the flames, you look amazing.
Your dress is amazing. Wow. Is that charcoal?
That's so
is that burnt?
awkward.
Oh my gosh.
That's so awkward.
I mean, maybe the bride, maybe the groom could have stayed in the car, but I'm doubt after a car crash you're really thinking about that you really care about that. Man, that sucks. So not only does the bride and groom have to pay for the wedding video, they probably had to
Also,
pay
why
for
was
a
the
car.
bride driving?
Was the bride driving? The bride's in her own car
the bride
following my
rear-ended her.
wife's. I'm guessing that like the mom is driving her car or something. Maybe. That part's unclear.
Either way, the groom should drive the car. The bride, because she's a huge dress, should always be a passenger princess to the photographer. Every time. Well, I guess you want to show up early with the groom, get him in place, the bride walks up, huh? But still.
What a terrible day.
I won't make any female driver jokes here.
No, we'll keep those off limits
But
for
just
now.
know I want to.
Yeah, just know. I mean, plot twist: the bride's dad was driving.
Have you seen those TikToks? It's like forgetting that I have to react when I hit the curb when my husband's in the car.
Yeah, those are
those.
classic.
And she just hits the curb and then she
Oh, yeah.
remembers her husband's there. Oh my gosh! Wow. That's so awkward.
That
dude.
sucks.
The
Sorry about
first
the
look,
car.
2 days later too. That's so Utah. Like the first look's already out there. Well, we still want to do it for the photo.
Sorry about the car. Hopefully the
Watch
bride
where you're
paid
driving.
for it. Yeah, watch out. Those Utah roads
It's
are
just
crazy.
awkward. Oh, it's so awkward. You're now in an insurance claim with your photographer.
Oh.
You show up at their wedding with a brand new car. It's just awkward on all
You're at the
accounts.
temple. You got old people walking out of their sessions. There's a crowd. They're around the whole thing, asking what
Also,
happened,
I drive
cracking
by that
jokes.
temple. Yeah. On that road, imagine how funny it would be to drive by that road and you just like look and see an accident and it's a bride and groom.
Man. I mean, I live like
That'd be
5
pretty
minutes
funny.
away from this thing, so
I know,
I know
right
the road
there.
they're talking about. I've never,
Yeah.
I've never pegged it as a fast road that they're pulling. I'll see it completely different now. I'll take the turn very easy, nice and slow.
So sad.
Dang, sorry. I feel like we're saying sorry a
So
lot.
sad.
Sorry about the harassment. We're sorry about the car. We're sorry about the photographer not
Yeah.
using her flash down the aisle the whole time.
Yeah.
Sad stories.
Yeah. Just a lot going on there.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we're gonna put a pin in it there.
Yeah.
I feel like this episode is just a bunch of awkward, sad moments. Man, weddings are a wild thing.
Yeah.
Weddings are a wild thing. You guys, submit your stories below.
I'm trying to think of like another event or another thing that has just the full breadth of emotion and events happening, and I can't really think of one. A wedding, you see everything.
I
Everything.
feel like this episode is like anything that could go wrong went wrong.
Yeah, this is classic Murphy's
And these are
Law.
stories I've never had stories like this before.
All pretty unique.
Just wow, car accident with the photographer. Videographer had to do the guard toss.
The bride's family not even showing up to the wedding
Yeah. Formatting your card.
and recording over it.
Blaming the mom for some reason.
Yeah, mom's fault for that one.
Maybe it was the mom's like run-on speech. You're just like, oh my gosh, I have to format my card.
Oh man.
That's crazy.
Dang.
All right, you guys. Submit your stories below, and we'll be back next week with more written by you. Anything else, Nathan?
No. I sounded like you closed it off with an open-ended question there.
Yeah, take a look at your book.
I knew it sounded good. No, nothing else from me other than, as Jake touched on at the very beginning, you'll probably have noticed that we're being more active on YouTube. We're trying to be more active on our Instagram, our newsletters. So if you want to sign up, if you want to subscribe to our YouTube channel, that'll be in the link. If you want to subscribe to our newsletter where we talk about business, talk about clients, things not exactly in the wedding world as well, we'll leave a link for that to subscribe. But we look forward to seeing with you next week, chatting with you next week. We're not going to see you. You're going to see us.
One day we'll chat with you.
Yeah, we'd love to.
I saw this photographer just hosted a live podcast episode
With like an audience?
where she did her podcast episode and she had a live audience and she passed the mic around. Yeah.
Oh, that'd be...
I don't know if she passed the mic around, actually. I think she just like did a podcast episode and people got to hang out and
That's pretty good.
a cute little charcuterie board. It was very
that's
cutesy,
actually
typical
cool.
wedding.
I feel like if we did something like that, it would have to be like a sitcom where we have someone like telling the audience when to laugh. You know, they hold up the card. Because if we're cracking jokes and no one's laughing, that would hurt.
Yeah, to work on our crowd work.
Yeah, work on the crowd. Work the
Anyway.
crowd.
Thank you all for listening. We'll catch you next week.